Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Paula. Welcome back to my channel if you are listening to this on there, or welcome back to my blog if you're listening to this on there. So this episode of SheHH is a special one. We have a friend of mine, her name is Adegail. She is a singer-songwriter from the UK. She's also a spoken word artist, a YouTuber, and she runs iRADIATE. It was really great catching up with her, and I learnt a lot about the UK gospel scene. It's not as big as the US, but it is here and it's here to stay. And it was great to hear from someone who's in the middle of it. This is a great episode and I know you guys are going to be blessed. Hi Abigail.
Hi Paula.
So what do you go by? Like what's your stage name?
People know me as Adegail.
And for someone who doesn't know who you are, what you kind of do, how would you introduce yourself?
So I'd say, hi, I'm Adegail. I'm a worship leader. I play the guitar. I do spoken word, poetry. I'm a YouTuber here and there. Yeah, I'm just kind of an all-round creative.
I love to hear that. We're specifically going to speak about you being a singer, songwriter, and a spoken word artist. Can you just tell us a bit about your journey so far, how you got to where you are?
Okay, so I think it's been a bit of a long one. A lot of people probably just see me on social media and just think ooh, where did she come from? But yeah, it's been a lot of years of kind of writing when no one knew my stuff, kind of just preparing, learning how I write, learning my style, learning even how to songwrite, because that's something that came after I started to learn how to do spoken word poetry, and just kind of finding my voice as an artist. I think in terms of actual singing, that's something that I've been doing for the most of my life, but in terms of actually leading worship and things like that, that started when I was 18, and it's kind of just skyrocketed since then. So
in church then? So would you say it was at church?
Yeah, so I started in church. I was in gospel choirs when I was a teenager, and it kind of developed throughout university. I was the choir director for a society, so I had to lead worship, but also teach a choir, a mixed ability choir, every week for basically a year. And that really skyrocketed my confidence and my skills, just me being able to understand where I'm going as a worship leader and musician.
Okay, yeah. And when do you think you started actually performing? I don't really like to use the word performing. I say ministering. Ministering. When did you start ministering events and churches and that kind of thing?
That started actually at university. So in my first year, I kind of just had a mentality that I really wanted to push myself out there, because I've traditionally been very shy. So I was kind of just learning to just break free and just be free with my artistry or whatever. So yeah, that's in university. I started kind of singing at different events, and then once I graduated, that took off quite a bit more, but it's taken off the most in the last year, I would say.
I mean, you mentioned that naturally you're a shy, more introverted person, so I'm guessing going and doing all these events wasn't second nature to you. So can you talk about how it was going and doing that and kind of pushing yourself out your comfort zone?
Oh, that was okay. That was actually the scariest thing I've done today. So I think the first time I did worship, I was shaking. The second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh and probably 10th time, I was probably still shaking. But I think once you have a mentality that this is what you know you've been called to do, it kind of transcends the fear. And the thing is, people say this quite frequently. Boldness isn't the absence of fear, but it's doing things in spite of the fear. And that's kind of been my mentality for the last few years, because I'm still introverted. I would say I'm not really so much shy anymore, but I prefer, I like my own space. But then being in front of the public eye, on social media or at an event, it really is out of my comfort zone. But the more you do something, the easier it gets. At this point, it's not that hard for me. But yeah, it just took a lot of brain power, took a lot of praying and believing God that this is who you called me to be, so I'm going to do it in spite of how I feel.
That's really encouraging, I don't think you understand, I think a lot of people just decide that my calling can't be forward facing because I'm a shy person. It's no, it still could be, it still really could be.
Yeah, God uses the unexpected. That's what I'll say.
It's true. No, that's encouraging to hear. You talked about doing events and, ministering other places. What was it that made you kind of decide to create iRADIATE? Or do you want to even actually explain what iRADIATE is?
Oh, my little brainchild. Okay. So,
your little baby.
Literally. So iRADIATE, it stems from actually a YouTube series that I started called the Radiate series. And that series basically
I remember that.
Oh yes! OG. That talks about basically people using their talents and kind of the lies and the challenges that people face in regards to using it. So for example, shyness, as we just spoke about, or being too old, too young, too this, too that, unqualified. And so I kind of took that idea and turned it into an event where I would kind of invite people that are like-minded, who are, young worshippers, mostly singers and musicians, so guitarists mostly, and kind of just give them a platform to use their giftings and to kind of put themselves out there and be bold and to essentially shine their light, because that's the basis of my ministry. Is Matthew 5:14-16, which talks about, be the light of the world, a light can't be hidden, shine your light. And so, yeah, I basically put that into the title of iRADIATE, which is, radiate is another way of saying shine. So iRADIATE, we're all meant to radiate, we're all meant to shine. Don't dim yourself, use your talent, use your giftings. And so for the last 2 events that I've had, it's been everyone on the lineup have been able to play an instrument and sing, and they kind of generally have a social media presence where they're trying to use their giftings and to the glory of God.
So let us know a little bit about the behind the scenes of putting these events on, because I've done events. It's not small stuff to do, honestly.
My sister.
So give us the real.
Okay, the real. Oh, okay. So the last 2 events we organised it from start to finish within 3 months.
Wow.
Both events. It was hard, right? So the first event I had experience in organising events from different organisations, but when it's now your own event, it goes from 0 to 100 basically. So I have a team now, which is kind of actually a bunch of friends / mutual friends, and it was just a lot of planning. It was a lot of, not bad to be fair, it was a lot of like kind of naysayers. People just being like, who are you? How are you doing? A lot of that. But I think it's also been a lot of learning and growing and asking questions and finding out how do people do these things, or what do I want, because I think it's so easy to copy people.
That's
and
true.
to just do things how other people do it rather than know how you're meant to be doing it. So yeah, it's been a lot of discovering. I would say the last event we had was a lot more stressful because we scaled up quite a bit, because it was a live recording / a worship night, and I've never done a live recording before, and I've barely been to any live recording myself. So I had to bring on a lot of people who knew what they were doing, which helped. And that's another thing, delegating and not being afraid to get people who know what they're talking about on board is super important. So yeah, it was a lot, but I think it was definitely worth the stress.
I mean, everything I saw on social media, it looked like it was amazing. I wish I was there.
It's okay, there'll be others eventually.
Hopefully I'll be down in London at the time when it's on. Like the first time I was supposed to be there, then something came up. Second time, I think I had my event on the same time, so I couldn't come. But yeah, no, from what I saw on social media, it looked amazing. It looked beautiful, and it looked like God was there. So I'm so amazing. Oh, we love to see it. And with this event, you mentioned that you had to really get over any kind of fear of bringing people on who knew what they were talking about, especially with like the live recording. Was there any advice that you were maybe given, maybe with creating iRADIATE or just anything in general with your career so far? Was there any advice that you like always think back to or refer to?
Okay, so there's advice that wasn't necessarily given to me specifically. It was Pastor Michael Todd, that a lot of people know. He had a series. He was talking about the fact that if God funds his ideas, and that's something that sticks with me, because it's essentially saying that if God has called you to it, he will see you through it. Like whether you feel like you're qualified or not, but if God has called you to it, and if he's planted a vision within you, he will see it come to fruition, and he will make sure it does. So that's something that has really stuck with me in terms of iRADIATE, because it was way out of my league. If I'm being honest, it really was. And the fact that even me, I consider myself to still be young, to be able to organize 2 events within the space of like 5 months of each other for the first time ever within the same year was crazy. And God has really just blown my mind with that. So I think that's one piece of advice that I keep dear to my heart. Another one I would say would be kind of, if you're doing something, just go all in. So don't kind of do things half-heartedly, which I think a lot of people can do, and even me, I kind of grew up kind of okay with just being mediocre and stuff. Again, if God has placed something genuinely in you and you know it's from God, then he deserves our best. And that's something that I kind of keep at the forefront of my mind when I do these things, that I can cut corners, but if I know I can do better, then I will do better. And I will just give it my all.
It's interesting you mentioned that, actually, because I was recently reading a scripture. It was either Colossians or Philippians, where Paul is speaking to the church and he's saying, everything that you do in all your work as if you're working unto God. And I just always think back to that, like with my day job, with all the different projects that God has given us. Why would I not give my all if I've been blessed with this opportunity? With iRADIATE with you, God has trusted you with that vision, and I don't want to let him down because he has trusted me. And so I think that's such an encouraging thing to hear you say. Even just as Christian creatives, a lot of the time you hear music that the production isn't as great as it should be.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's like, well, we accept it because, but they're Christian. No, but why does that mean that it should be bad though?
100%. It's really bad. Like the standard, anyway, I'm just
you can.
Like the standard in the UK is just noticeably low. And I would say compared to America. And maybe Nigeria, because there's quite a lot of people there. But I don't know.
That's true.
Why as Christians, we feel like we were okay with being mediocre with things, and then that's how people now start choosing worldly music, because they know that the standard is going to be better.
Exactly.
They know that production is better, they know musicians are better. But when it's a Christian thing, it's like, okay, cool, that's okay if things are sticking out or things are unfinished or things we need to stop. And that's something that I actually aim, like one of my aims with iRADIATE and just like kind of my team is to just push those boundaries and try and set the standards and maintain that standard. Yeah.
I mean, because you're so I've mentioned on this series before, this episode, that we have our WhatsApp group chat, the Christian hip hop WhatsApp group chat.
Yeah.
Adegail is actually in that chat. So we have actually spoken about in the chat before, like this whole thing about the Christian standard of like in music, where they just do sometimes they'll do anyhow, but it's okay because it's Christian. Like the amount of songs, the amount of songs I've listened to where the lead artist ad-libs the wrong thing. Why has that made it to the final cut? Why is that okay?
Please, you're asking me, I'm asking you. I'm asking them, I'm asking questions.
Let's ask each other, because no, it's true. And I think that's part of why I was so passionate about this series, because the women, especially the young women that's just like coming out with amazing music, we care about what we're doing. Like we care that it's biblical, we care that it's theological, but we also care that it's an excellent standard. And I see that excellence in you, hence why you're in this series.
Oh God.
That gasp was so dramatic.
Sorry. No, honestly, thank God, because it's just not easy.
It's not.
It's really not. But that's awesome.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. That's encouraging to hear. And I was just even gonna mention, like I mentioned, like the women, how this whole series is about women. Do you think so far in your career that being a woman has affected anything that you do?
Oh my goodness, topical topic.
Juicy.
Oh, 100%. I would say, in terms of people's perception, or guys' perception, I'm literally about to make a video on this.
Ooh, what's it? Plug your channel.
Oh, YouTube. Okay, I'm gonna drop it in the next few days once my editing gets through. Adegail. So very simple. Everything on social media is Adegail.
Good branding.
Yeah, I try. But no, it definitely has affected. I think the way people perceive me, even as a musician, so I play the guitar. You don't really see too many black girls playing the guitar, I would say. And if you do, and I don't mean this in a shady, but if you do, it's normally to a certain standard. I think with me, because I was professionally trained at first.
Nice. Okay. Small flex.
But I lost that, so so I've been teaching myself for a while. Anyway, I can play something called barcodes, and that's something that a lot of guys, they just kind of get shocked at when they're like, oh my gosh, you can play that? So like, I think people's perception of me has been they've been skeptical until they see that, okay, she can actually prove herself to be able to do these things. So whether it's music, even like professionally, with the guitar, with spoken word, like I've just got a lot of cynicism. And I think once with stuff like iRADIATE coming out and just me posting clips of me playing like bar chords, it's just kind of turned people's opinions around, and I have seen quite a lot of positive feedback. But yeah, no, it's definitely not easy because we are minorities in the music world. Being a female, you are a minority. Period. So,
and it's kind of mad because we're really 50% of the population. Like,
as in, but you can't, like, you actually can't really tell, especially in like the UK gospel scene. There are females, but there are a lot more males who are, I would say, doing a lot more, seem to have a lot more of a spread. Whereas the females don't tend to be doing as much, and it's quite sad. It will be like one or two of the key females. But, you know, we're changing that one day at a time, 1 month at a time. It's
interesting you say that though, like especially the UK gospel scene. Like with this series, I've actually interviewed a lot of like Americans. A lot of Americans actually. And then Cass, she's from New Zealand. So I love her. Yeah, so like it's a case of just like comparing their scene where there are a lot more females who are maybe a bit more seen. Our UK scene is generally male. It's just generally really male.
Yeah. It really is. Like, I think a lot of people don't even realise, but I think once I started entering the scene, I was like, oh, where my ladies at? Like,
it's true. I feel like they're just called on to like come and do sing a hook on a rap song.
Yeah, literally. As in female, and this is another thing I've noticed, that a lot of females have just a stereotypical female role. So yeah, they would do a hook, or they would be a BV in an event, or they would, I don't know, release like one song and then not release a song for ages. I don't know, it's just sad. It's just sad. But
true.
It's okay because God has a plan.
Amen.
And He is raising up people, and I have noticed that. Even with like you mentioning Cass, Cass, I would say like in terms of she's at the top of her game, I would say, or she's getting there. And there's not many people kind of like her because she produces her stuff. I think. And that's to see a female producer. Even when I heard that, I was like, whoa, okay, because that's not common. And then with people like One Day, she's not like the only female.
She's episode 1, by the way.
Oh yes. I can't listen to that. But yeah, she's a minority too. Like even in those scenes, to be at the top of your game, a lot of the people are males. So if you're a female and you're at the top of your game, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But why is it like that?
Exactly. I think that's what made me so passionate about this series. Like, I've seen how much like sexism and patriarchy has actually like infiltrated the church, number one, but then also just like Christian music in general. And it's not just even a Christian hip hop thing alone. Even with like gospel music, you have like Tasha Cobbs and like all these big names. So they should be the most like successful and the most famous, but they're not necessarily. You still have like, do you know what I mean? Like you still have like the guys and like the women will feature on their songs and it's things like that. And then I'm like, okay, you know, it's cool. And this is not like, I don't want this series to turn into some kind of like
shade throwing,
shade or extreme feminism or anything, because it's not that. Like, and we have this goes back to like gender roles and like what men and women were created to do and all that stuff. But like with music, we were all created to worship. We were all created to use music to worship. So even if you can't sing, you can't even do it, you don't even have rhythm, you still were created to worship. You're still created to worship. So I never understand why patriarchy will even influence things like that which shouldn't be affected at all, but it still does. So
it does. But I mean, things are changing, and even with your series and there's different things happening in the industry, like I am seeing changes, and we are globally. I think maybe slower than we expected or thought, but it's definitely still happening. Yeah, we just need more series like this. We need more people just taking the initiative, or women just being confident in their value and their abilities and their giftings. And
it's true. It's true. And we're seeing it. I think my whole thing is that it's not, like you said, it was not happening as fast as I thought it would. It seems like the world is doing it quicker than we are, which is really sad. Yes, really sad. True. But we just have to pray in it.
God help us all.
Amen. Amen. So we're really interested in hearing what 2020 has to serve you. Like, what are the things that you're excited for? What can we be looking forward to hearing and seeing from you?
Ooh, exciting. I think my main thing next year is releasing songs.
Ooh.
I know, like, it's been such a long time coming. People have really been on my back about this, but I think the live recording was kind of the initial stage of releasing my song. So now we have visuals for it too.
Amazing.
So so that's I've really been planning ahead for that. So you'll be hearing quite a few singles of mine drop in the new year. when they drop, I'll let you know.
Amazing.
But they're definitely gonna come, and I'm super excited for that because that's something that I haven't ever done before. So, yeah,
that's an exciting new stage.
Yes. No, it's been a long time coming. It really has. But I think, again, going back to what you said, it's just making sure that standard is there, which is probably why it's taken quite a while, because I wanted to do things right and I wanted to do things at the best of my ability. So watch out.
Oh, amazing. Any more iRADIATEs?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, we're definitely going to have another iRADIATE. I think because the focus is releasing music, I had 2 this year, but next year it's probably going to be 1, and it's probably going to be close to the end of the year. So definitely watch out for that.
Nice.
It will happen.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you've got big plans, but at the same time, it's kind of like when God says it will happen. Yeah, I think it's finding the balance between me being uber eager and me paying attention to like the actual right timing. Because I think that's something that is important to remember as a creative, even that it's not every time you should be posting. Sometimes just wait on God, and there's a season and a timing for everything, so don't rush the process. That's true.
That's where I'm at right now.
And as a creative, like with the different things you do, obviously with YouTube, alongside like being an artist, doing spoken word and music, how do you make sure that Christ is at the center of it all without it being like, Christians love this word, corny, and like, how do you make sure that it is still Christ centered?
Okay, one of the most important things I've done is making sure I have good people around me. So people that will speak life into me, people that will call me out if I'm just doing the most, people that will just check on my spirituality, check on like what I'm doing. I think that's foundational to keeping me grounded with everything I do. I think also just knowing that if I'm pouring, I can't pour out from an empty cup, and that's another thing that I do keep quite dear to myself, is that if I know that I'm ministering a lot, I need to know that I'm having that personal time, I'm having that quiet time, I'm having my own worship time and stuff like that, because you actually can't physically just keep pouring out if you're just empty.
That's true.
And so I do try to make sure that my actual relationship with God is as good as it can be, and it's not always easy. If I keep it 100, it just isn't. And sometimes there are times when it's difficult, or you feel like you could be closer to God. But I think just being intentional about your time, about your praying, and just keeping God at the center and remembering why you do what you do. Is that like too PC? I don't know.
No. It was amazing. I think it's always interesting hearing from different creatives how their process makes sure that Christ is still at the center, because I think everyone does it differently. I'm a very I think things through and then I write a lot. Within that process, I have to make sure that, wait, am I still thinking, does this align with the Bible? Does this align with Christ? So with musicians, because obviously I'm not a singer or a musician, I always like to see how that entangles with what they do. So with this series, people are going to find out how different musicians, like from different genres, do that. And I think it's been interesting to hear that from like my favorite 2 artists, Wande and Cass, who are on this series, and hearing their process has been very interesting. And I think comparing it to you, who's a UK artist, has also been very interesting. So I'm excited. I'm excited, honestly. But is there anything else that you think that we should hear and know about you? I think a lot of people, when they think of Christian artists, they normally think of one thing. So that it's quite one-dimensional, or two-dimensional is what people say. Yeah, two-dimensional rather than 3D. And I think in terms of me, I do try to not put myself into a box, because I do have the YouTube, but spoken word, musician, and just different things, singer, song, like all of those different titles. I think it's important to understand that people don't have to look one way, like Christian artists don't have to look one way. I think Christians can box people in quite easily too. If they hear you sing, then you're a singer, that's it. Just sing. It's
if they
easy.
Hear you do gospel, you sing gospel, and don't do anything, don't you dare rap. So hopefully when you see me, you see that there is potential to do more than one thing as a Christian, and there's potential to do it well.
That's inspiring, very inspiring.
We thank the Lord.
Honest, Christian. Do you know what it is? Christian women are so boxed in. Anything you put out, that's your label for the rest of your life. And I don't know why people do it. I don't know.
I don't know. Same. I'm still trying to work it out. I really am. But I think it's just normal to want to box things in, to compartmentalize things. So it's like, oh, this person's a singer, this is their brand, singing. They must sing. This person is a female cook, she must cook. I don't know. We need to be a bit more open-minded, I think.
Do you think that's a church thing or like a Christian thing? Because I'm thinking like Cardi B or like Nicki Minaj, you would never expect them to do one type of song for the rest of their career. But one day, like if the time of I don't want to like make this a thing, but like the time when Tasha Cobbs decided to like have Nicki Minaj on her album,
tables were flipping,
and people were doing backflips. Like it's just kind of like it's so like, oh, you've drifted too away from what we expect from you, but like you don't put that same kind of restriction and standards on non-Christians. And I'm not saying we should be held to the same standard as the world, of course. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that why do we put so much pressure and labels on Christian women? It's just
that's a good example. I think would you say that it's Christian women or just Christians in general? Like Christian artists in general?
Definitely Christian artists in general. But I feel like I see it more because I'm a Christian woman as well. But like genuinely, I think the Christian men that also like creatives are praised for doing things creatively.
That's true.
Like
that is true.
So let's say they do photography, they do like one stylish photography and it's amazing. But like me as a photographer, if I decided that I wanted to branch out and do, I don't know, black and white photography or event photography or I don't know, like maternity photography, it would be like, okay, I thought you do this, and like even if it's not like in a hurtful or harmful way, it's very just like shock horror. Who said you could branch out kind of thing.
100%. Okay, no, I fully understand. I've literally got that so many times. It's true. An example with me, with like spoken word, that's a very, at least from my perspective, I think it's a very male-dominated thing in the UK. Even in America, actually, with PIA, I think it's mostly males. Yeah, I think that was the thing I was most scared of doing, just because I was entering a very male-dominated sphere. Yeah, I think people just confused. Like, you're like, wait, you sing, you play the guitar, why are you doing poetry? What is this? But I think it's a mindset. That's it. It must be a mindset in the church. I don't know. I really don't know. One, you need to pray about it, but two, also, people need to see that it's possible to do it and do it well. Like with photography, there are amazing photographers. Like, actually, there's certain pictures that you took of me a while back that actually are one of my favorite pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be uploading that soon, don't worry, girl. But yeah, like, you just have to kill it. You just have to be good at what you do and show people that it's possible.
I appreciate you saying that, thank you so much.
Oh, girl, thank you.
I'm loving this, I really am. But yeah, like as we come towards the end, I have like a few classic, like I call them classic Paula and Melissa questions, because whenever I do interviews with like anyone that's a Christian, so any kind of Christian creative, I try and like put these two in, because, or even not even just Christian artists, actually, anyone, because I think it just shows a lot about the person, their art or their vision in life, and it gets them thinking about like why they do what they do. So we would love to know, like, what would you like your legacy to be? So when in years to come, what would you want people to associate with your name and who you are?
Oh, that's such a fabulous question.
Girl.
Oh my goodness. Okay, legacy. I would say using the gifts and the talents that God has given you and using them well. That could be something that transcends any sort of stereotype or anything any generalization about you as whether you're a woman or man or boy or girl, whatever. I think that's really big for me. And just worshiping God, like with everything. Like with absolutely everything you have, whether you have a past that would indicate that yes, this is what you can do, or whether it's something that is a shock to the people system. I think just make sure you do things boldly and don't look down on how you started out.
Oh, I like that. I like that what you said, that the last bit. Don't look down. Yeah. Wow. Last thing, how can we, the people that follow you on social media, the people that watch your videos, and attend your events, how can we be praying for you and lifting you up in prayer?
Oh, this is a sweet one. I would say just pray that what God has started within my ministry and within even my growth as someone who was extremely shy and who's now very much in the forefront of people's eyes, just pray that it doesn't run out, like the fire doesn't run dry, the flame continues to burn, and that I just reach where God wants me to reach, basically, as a Christian, as an artist, as a human.
We will definitely be praying. Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you so much for speaking with me, honestly.
Oh, thanks for asking me. I was honored. Wait, Cash, one day?
Stop it. Oh my God.
Thank you. And thanks for the series too. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. I know this interview is going to bless the people listening, so...
Amen, hallelujah, hopefully, yes.
So thank you for listening to this episode of SheHH. Don't forget to like and share, and follow us on Instagram at she.h.h, and check out more of my stuff on paulamelissa.com. If you would like to join our CHH Music WhatsApp group chat, check out the link in the description box if you're listening to this on YouTube, or the link in the post if you're listening to this from my blog. I'll see you next time. Bye!